I grew up in a small town in north central Idaho. I was a lifelong Catholic, born Catholic, and my family attended Mass every Sunday, but that's about where it ended. We weren't too involved in the parish.
I grew up in a farming community in Aberdeen, Idaho. My faith was like a flat piece of paper. There was no dimension to it, whatever. Went to church on Sunday, came home. There was no personal relationship with Christ. There was really no conversation about having a personal relationship with God.
I went to school at the University of Idaho in Moscow and started attending the St. Augustine's student parish. And, you know, I think for the first couple of years I was still kind of a go through the motions Catholic.
The very first Sunday that I moved to Moscow, I went to Mass there because I knew as a kid growing up in a small town and wasn't really very social, wasn't good at making friends, I knew that I could go to Mass at St. Augustine's and have a community and feel safe. It was a refuge. It was something that I knew.
I met Lisa 2 weeks into school, and then so I would see her every weekend at church. And one Sunday I sat next to her and she asked me out. So
because I had a concert ticket, nobody else to go with.
She was stalking me and arranged it carefully so I would sit next to her. And anyway, so we went to an Amy Grant concert, and that's how we started going out. And we ended up being married in that parish. The student parish really became the center of my social life and spiritual life. I mean, I was surrounded by kids that for the first time were really on fire for God. And, you know, I was, you know, seeing how it was influencing their lives. They were involved in their parish, and it was great. It was wonderful. It was beautiful.
I just met some really wonderful people and became involved. And when you become involved with a group of people who are on fire for the Lord, you can't help but get sucked in and want to be part of that and experience that for yourself. And so that's what happened. So many wonderful people that we met and activities that we participated in that really helped us to flourish as a Catholic couple and as a Catholic family.
For me, it was like I had been living on the edge of a beautiful mountain range, but in a shed with the doors shut. And I suddenly open those doors and the light comes in. I'm like, oh, this is what they mean. This is what the faith is like. We moved to Battleground, Washington, 6 days after I graduated from school and started working. And we left this whole supportive community of all these like-minded, students, people our own age, that we were spending all this time with. We left them all behind.
It was really difficult to leave Moscow and to leave our church community because we were coming to someplace we didn't know anyone, and to start over again, it was it was a time of mourning.
It just felt like you're in the desert, and so we started going to Mass at this little country parish of Sacred Heart in Battleground, and it was just lonely because we left it all behind. But little by little, we started going to coffee hour after church, and people would invite us to sit with them, and they would start asking, where'd you move from? And we got to know them, and pretty soon those little acquaintances became, dinners, invitations to dinner, or invitations to a picnic. And slowly we got to know people well, and then made lifelong friends. And
we made great friends that we still correspond with today through simple things like sitting across the table from a family that had a new baby, and they're still lifelong friends at coffee hour.
2008, we moved from Battleground up to Olympia, and this is such a huge parish. This is the biggest parish in Washington, I think. And at that time, we were involved in with our kids' activities at school. We didn't have the same kind of free time, and so it was a couple years where we were going here, but really felt outside still. And out of the blue, I got a call from Father Jim, and he invited me to be a member of parish council. And Father Jim didn't even really know me that well, and I said to him, my dad taught me that when you ask me to help, I'm gonna do it. But how did you even know to call me? And he said, well, actually, I called somebody else, invited them, and they couldn't do it, but they recommended you. And so I don't know who that was to this day, but whoever it was, I want to say thank you. because that was the on-ramp for me in this community, and ended up becoming a life-changing experience. And it was so wonderful. It was so wonderful. And again, it has led to us meeting so many more people, becoming involved in many things, being a sacristan or serving in the shelter, the homeless shelter. There's just, I don't know, our lives are much richer for it. And again, it starts with the invitation, the hello, just little acquaintances turn into friends, and those friendships become lifelong. So I would say to the folks out, in small groups that are watching this, you're surrounded, you know what it feels like to be surrounded by a supportive community of like-minded people. I just want to invite you to be that spark in somebody else's life. There are people coming in and out of our doors every weekend, searching for God, and you can be God. You can be Christ for them. You can be Christ's hands. Give that person a smile. Ask them how long they've been going to the parish. If they're brand new or they're searching, tell them that you're so grateful you came. Invite them to come and sit with you at coffee and donuts. That is so important. It has been so important in our lives. And so, you can be that spark that starts a fire in somebody else's life.